Okay, in this video I will show you how to ink and print your linoleum block print. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is pull a test print and make sure that our print comes out the way that we want it to. To set up, get a piece of newsprint or just manila paper to sort of act as a placemat to protect the table. Makes cleanup a lot easier. You're going to need to get your ink. We're just going to use black for now. You need your inking plate, which we also know as a bench hook, which we've been using to carve our linoleum blocks. You need a brayer, which is the roller, basically, to get the ink onto your plate. You need a baren, and this will help you print. You need the paper to print on. You can do test prints on newsprint, or and then once you're done, you will switch to the good printmaking paper, which is the white stuff. We need a palette knife to scoop the ink out, and then we also need some paper towels. Make sure we keep our hands clean, and we need a printing jig. This has the registration marks on it, so that when you place your printing plate in here, you know that you're going to have a nice even border if you line your paper up with those corner marks. Just like that, okay? And that is how we will print. Okay. So, oh, and you also need a pencil because you want to be labeling your prints as you create them. Okay, so first thing you need to do is make sure the block is clean. You don't want any little shards or shreds of the linoleum that you had removed, because that will get mixed in with your ink. It'll leave spots. It's just not a good thing. So make sure this is nice and clean, dust it off. You can even rinse it underwater if you want to. Just make sure it's totally dry before you start printing. When we're ready to start printing, we are going to take a small amount of ink. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to place it just at the bottom of my inking plate, about the width of my brayer. So I'm just going to scoop, I don't know, a little bit there, and lay it across my inking plate here. Okay. And then I will make sure I close my ink. This is water-based ink. It will dry out if you don't close it. And while I'm here, I will also take some paper towel and wipe off my hands and palette knife. Okay. So then you take your brayer. You're going to roll in one direction only. We're just going to push up. And you want to roll until you see the ink make another imprint up here. Okay, so I'm going to roll. Okay, and there. Now I know I went one full rotation. And I'm going to keep doing this, keeping the length that I roll the same. And we're not going to paint the whole thing, okay? We just want to keep the ink sort of the same size as the brayer. And you want it to sort of sound sticky. You guys can hear that. If it doesn't sound sticky, that means you have too much ink on your plate, so you might need to just like wipe some off and kind of start over. So you want to hear that sticky sound. And notice I was only rolling in one direction, picked it up, and started over. Okay, now I'm going to ink my plate. I'm just going to roll the ink on. You can go in both directions. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay. And then I'm going to put my brayer down, upside down. I'm going to rest it on this part of the brayer, so that way nothing gets funky where my ink is. And I'm going to align my plate up, pick up a piece of newsprint. I'm going to pick it up by the corners. I'm going to first put the upper corner here down, line it up with my red lines here, okay, and then I'll just lay it down. And I will use my Baron to apply nice, even, gentle pressure all over my printing plate. Okay, and then I can lift it up and see what I have. So at this point you would see if there were any imperfections that you didn't like. I'm also going to label this Artist Proof 1, AP1 in the corner there. So maybe I didn't ink it evenly, or maybe I didn't apply enough pressure, or maybe I want to go back in with my cutting tools and remove certain areas. Maybe add more texture in the hair, whatever it may be, okay? Here's a test print that is based on our abstract project that we're doing right now. So we discussed some things, you know, there were some spots missed here with the ink. He might decide to remove some of these areas that were still sort of elevated and took ink. He might go in and do some more textures, clean up some of the edges, okay? Like something like this here, you might want to clean up a little bit, okay? So now is the chance to do that, okay? So if you are not happy with your print, you would go and clean everything up, and then you would carve this a little bit more until you think you have a good plate, and then you would do another test print. But if you're happy and you're ready to go, now is the time to actually do your prints. So now you would need to re-ink your plate. Okay, so take this back off the registration plate because we don't want to get ink on this. Okay, I'm going to re-ink. And as you work, you may find that, you know, the ink starts to dry out, so you might need to rinse everything off and start over, because dry ink is no fun for anybody, and you will not get good prints that way. Okay, place it upside down, my plate back in here. Okay, and let's say I was happy with that, so now I'm going to switch over to my good paper, again picking it up by the corner, lining the corner up with my red registration lines here, and then just dropping the paper down. And you guys will have to, you know, take some practice to figure out how much ink you need and how much pressure you need to get a good print. Okay? And there you have it. It looks pretty good. So here I would also take a second to label this. Let's say that this is the first of my edition, and I plan to print, I don't know, 5 or 10. It doesn't matter right now. I could easily just do 1. Okay, just label it 1. And the next print, 2. Next print, 3. Once I'm done printing, I would count up on my prints. Let's say I did 5. Then I would do 1 out of 5. And I would sign it and maybe title it. Okay? And this has to be done in pencil. Alright, and that is the printing process in a nutshell. Now, when you guys get to the point where you do your self-portraits, you can have a little bit more fun with those, okay? I'm going to show you one quick little technique. I'm going to use this plate. It's a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm going to do a rainbow roll. We have a lot of different colors of ink. We have green, blue, pink, gold, silver, orange, red, purple, turquoise, black, white. Okay, so you're going to experiment with different kinds of papers and colors and have a lot of fun with it. So this is called the rainbow roll. So you're actually using multiple colors. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of blue here. And I'm only put on half of my plate. And I'm going to close up that lid. Okay. Wipe off my palette knife. And I'm going to get a little bit of green. This is a little bit goopy in here, so you might want to stir it. If things start to separate, you might want to stir it before you use it. So I'm just going to stir that real quick. Okay. And then add some green next to it. Just doing a little bit at a time. Okay. Okay, so now what I will do is pick up, I have a bigger roll brayer here, so it kind of fits my plate a little bit better, and I'm going to just start to roll my ink. Now this is very important. You cannot go left to right now because you don't want the colors to mix the other way. You just want them to mix in the middle. And you might want to scooch over a little bit so you get a nice mix in the middle. And you want to work this until you get, again, you want to hear that sticky sound, and you want to make sure that your ink is nice and smooth on your printing plate, your inking plate, I'm sorry. So this brayer is actually not cooperating very well with me right now. So if something like that happens to you guys, switch brayers. Some of them have been damaged, they're warped, they're old. So if it's not giving you a nice clean roll, you want to switch. I'm going to try to make this one work by pressing really, really hard, just so I don't waste too much time here. But I am able to get a decent amount of coverage. Get some more ink on there. Okay. And there you have a rainbow roll. Okay. So that will be something you'll experiment with in the self-portraits. As far as the abstract prints go, you're just going to stick to black and white. If you want to do an extra edition of white ink on black paper, you can totally do that, but you really just need to do black ink on white paper. And then again, now that I'm all done, I will take all of my tools, my brayer, my inking plate, my palette knife, anything I used, even this, I will take it to the sink and I will clean it with soap, water, a sponge, and make sure all of the ink is off, so that the next person that needs to use it, or if I'm going to use it again, I don't have remnants of ink messing up my future work. Okay, so that is how to print, and I will have another tutorial on how to get your self-portrait ready. So thanks for watching, guys.